Some voices just can't be replaced. When a legendary frontman leaves a band, what follows is usually a gamble that doesn't always pay off. The new guy walks into a no-win situation, facing constant comparisons and impossible expectations. Sometimes the replacement brings fresh energy and the band reaches new heights, but other times the change sparks outrage, divides the fan base, and sends album sales plummeting. Tours get downsized, critics turn vicious, and longtime fans walk away. Here are 10 vocalists that ruined your favorite bands. Number 10. Johnny Solinger in Skid Row. When Sebastian Bach got the boot from Skid Row in 1996, fans were devastated. The band went silent for 3 years before returning in 1999 with Johnny Solinger as their new frontman. Solinger came from a Dallas band called Solinger and won the audition after just 2 songs. Bassist Rachel Bolan said they knew immediately he was the guy, but knowing and fan acceptance were 2 different things. Solinger walked into an impossible situation, stepping into the shoes of one of rock's most recognizable voices. Bach had fronted Skid Row through their biggest hits, the self-titled debut that went 5 times platinum, and Slave to the Grind, which debuted at number 1. Solinger stuck with the band for 15 years, longer than Bach's 9-year run, recording 2 albums and touring relentlessly. But that tenure came with constant comparisons. Critics and purist fans never quite let go of the Bach era. Every show, every album, every interview, the ghost of Sebastian Bach loomed large. The band played smaller venues and struggled to recapture their commercial peak. Solinger handled it with grace, always upbeat in interviews and shrugging off the endless Bach questions. He insisted it wasn't about Sebastian, it was about the songs that Snake and Rachel wrote. That may have been true, but fans didn't see it that way. To most, Solinger was a capable singer doing his best with material that belonged to someone else. Number 9. Blaze Bayley in Iron Maiden. When Bruce Dickinson quit Iron Maiden in 1993, the band faced their biggest challenge yet. Dickinson was more than just a voice. He was the face of the band during their most successful era. His departure left massive shoes to fill. After hundreds of auditions, Iron Maiden chose Blaze Bayley from the British rock band Wolfsbane. A serious motorcycle accident delayed things for a year, but in 1995, The X Factor arrived. The album peaked at number 8 on the UK charts, Iron Maiden's lowest chart position since 1981's Killers. Virtual 11 followed in 1998 and did even worse, hitting only number 16. The albums themselves divided opinion. Some fans appreciated the darker, more progressive direction. Steve Harris, the band's founder and bassist, defended both albums, insisting they were powerful works that people would appreciate more with time. Others felt the sound was too different, too heavy, too grim. The production on The X Factor in particular was notably dark and dense, making it less accessible than Maiden's usual fare. But the real problem wasn't the music, it was Bayley's voice. His range couldn't handle the Bruce Dickinson classics. Songs written in Dickinson's soaring operatic range became struggles for Bayley, whose throatier voice worked better on lower registers. Tours got cut short because of Bayley's vocal problems and frequent sickness. The band had to scale down from arenas to clubs. By the end of the Virtual 11 tour in 1998, drummer Nico McBrain was obsessing over soundboard recordings where Bayley sounded rough, bringing them to bassist Steve Harris with concern. Manager Rod Smallwood, whose job was to make the band as big as possible, saw the writing on the wall. In November 1998, Harris met with Dickinson about returning. In January 1999, Bayley was dismissed during a band meeting. He found out the same way everyone else did. Years later, Bayley admitted it took him 4 years to get over the disappointment. He called his time with Maiden an amazing achievement, but recognized that getting Bruce back was the right business decision. Number 8. Gary Cherone in Van Halen. Van Halen's history with lead singers reads like a soap opera. David Lee Roth brought the party. Sammy Hagar brought the hits. Then came Gary Cherone, who brought confusion, disappointment, and one of rock's most spectacular failures. After Hagar's messy 1996 departure and a brief, disastrous reunion attempt with Roth, Van Halen needed a new vocalist. In November 1996, at the urging of their manager, they hired Gary Cherone from the band Extreme. Eddie Van Halen connected with Cherone personally, and Cherone even moved into Eddie's guest house while they worked on a new album. Van Halen III dropped on March 17, 1998. It debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200, selling 197,000 copies in the first week. For most bands, that would be a triumph. For Van Halen, whose previous 4 albums had all been chart toppers and multi-platinum sellers, it was a disaster. The album eventually sold around 700,000 copies, making it Van Halen's first to not achieve at least double platinum status. Critics were brutal. Rolling Stone gave it 2 stars, noting that Cherone sounded disconcertingly like Hagar, but with spleen-busting bluster and no capacity for understatement. Billboard called it a wasted opportunity to breathe life into a tired formula. Entertainment Weekly had mixed reactions, praising Eddie's guitar work, but calling Eddie's own lead vocals on one track cringeworthy and unintentionally hilarious. Fans felt hoodwinked. The bait-and-switch tease with Roth at the 1996 MTV Video Music Awards had disappointed millions. The reunion lasted exactly long enough to record 2 new songs for a greatest hits album before Roth left again. When Cherone showed up instead, it didn't matter that he was a capable singer. He wasn't David Lee Roth. Worse, Eddie and Alex Van Halen had spent years trashing Hagar while praising their new guy. Fans weren't buying it. The album itself was strange. Over 65 minutes long, it was Van Halen's longest record. The songs were more lyrically intricate and progressive than anything the band had done. Michael Anthony barely played bass on it. Eddie took over most bass duties himself, and Alex Van Halen didn't play drums on any tracks due to personal problems. It wasn't really a band effort. As Anthony later said, it seemed like Eddie was basically making a solo record. Work began on a follow-up album in 1999. Reportedly, Warner Brothers sent it back twice because they didn't hear a hit single. Frustrated, Cherone left amicably. Van Halen wouldn't release another studio album for 14 years. The Cherone era lasted less than 3 years and is now largely erased from Van Halen history. None of its material appears on the band's 2004 compilation, The Best of Both Worlds. Number 7. Tim "Ripper" Owens in Judas Priest. Rob Halford's departure from Judas Priest in 1992 was a miscommunication that spiraled into years of separation. Halford was battling personal demons and needed a break. The band interpreted his absence as abandonment. After hundreds of auditions, they hired Tim "Ripper" Owens from the band Winter's Bane in 1996. Owens had a remarkable backstory. He'd been fronting a Judas Priest tribute band called British Steel when drummer Scott Travis was given a videotape of one of his performances. The band flew Owens to England, put on a recording of Victim of Changes, muted Halford's vocals, and told Owens to sing. He nailed it. Guitarist Glenn Tipton hit the button after one line and said, "Owens, you got the gig." Owens could hit the notes. His operatic vocal style matched Halford's range. The problem was everything else. Judas Priest recorded 2 albums with Owens, Jugulator in 1997 and Demolition in 2001. Both sold poorly compared to the band's classic era. Fans weren't willing to buy the Van Halen brothers, the Halford Les Priest. Critics noted that Owens had the chops but couldn't fill the Halford-shaped void in fans' hearts. The rest of the band wasn't giving him much to work with either. The songs lacked the concise power of classic Priest. As one reviewer put it, Owens might be a great singer, but these albums showed a band running on fumes. When Halford returned to Judas Priest in 2003, Owens was out. In the years since, Priest has essentially erased the Owens era. The band rarely plays songs from those two albums. Halford admitted he's never listened to Jugulator or Demolition, saying he's just not interested. Owens wasn't even mentioned when Judas Priest was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2022, despite contributing 2 studio albums, 2 live albums, and a DVD. Number 6, Rome Ramirez in Sublime. This one's technically cheating because the band had to change their name. When Sublime frontman Bradley Nowell died of a heroin overdose in May 1996, it seemed like the end. The band was poised for massive success. Their self-titled album, released 2 months after Nowell's death, eventually went 5 times platinum. What I really wanna say, I can't define. For 13 years, Sublime stayed buried. Then, in 2009, bassist Eric Wilson and drummer Bud Gaw wanted to reunite. They recruited Rome Ramirez, a fan of the band since childhood. But Nowell's estate owned the rights to the Sublime name, so they became Sublime with Rome. The trio released Yours Truly in 2011, shortly after Gaw left the band, leaving just Wilson and Ramirez to carry on. Critics and fans alike noted that Ramirez, while talented, couldn't live up to his departed predecessor. If you're grading on a tribute band curve, Ramirez is good. But that's the problem. Sublime with Rome felt like exactly that, a tribute act. Nowell's voice had a rough, soulful quality that captured the Long Beach ska punk vibe perfectly. His presence was magnetic, his songwriting deeply personal. Ramirez brought technical skill, but not that same magic. Songs like Santeria and What I Got felt hollow with someone else singing them. The new material lacked the edge and authenticity of Nowell's work. Fans were divided. Some appreciated Ramirez's effort to keep the music alive. Others felt it was disrespectful to Nowell's memory. The estate's insistence on the name change acknowledged the obvious. Sublime was Bradley Nowell. Without him, it was something else entirely. Number 5. Johnny Van Zant in Lynyrd Skynyrd. After the 1977 plane crash that killed Ronnie Van Zant, Steve Gaines, and Cassie Gaines, Lynyrd Skynyrd was finished. For a decade, they stayed buried. But in 1987, at the urging of Ronnie's longtime friend Charlie Daniels, the surviving members planned a tribute for the 10th anniversary of the crash. They needed a singer. The obvious choice was Ronnie's younger brother, Johnny. Johnny Van Zant had his own band through the 80s, the Johnny Van Zant Band, and had moderate success. He never sought to replace his brother, but when Skynyrd reunited for that memorial, Johnny was the only person who made sense. He had the Van Zant name, the genetics, and the vocal ability. The tribute tour was supposed to be 1 week. It became a full tour. Lynyrd Skynyrd was back and Johnny was at the front. But here's the thing, no matter how long Johnny has been with Skynyrd, and he's now been their singer for 37 years compared to Ronnie's 10, he's always been compared to his brother. Johnny has enough of Ronnie's grain and phrasing to make the classics work. He sings with a smoother, more radio-friendly top end, but purist fans have never fully accepted him. There's a segment that will always see him as the guy singing Ronnie's songs, not as a Lynyrd Skynyrd singer in his own right. It's not entirely fair. Johnny has released multiple successful albums with Skynyrd. The 1991 self-titled album proved they could write new material that stood alongside the classics. The 2012 album Last of a Dying Breed earned critical praise. Johnny's toured relentlessly, performed with dignity, and honored his brother's memory without trying to become him. But the shadow remains. When people think of Lynyrd Skynyrd, they think of Ronnie. Freebird, Sweet Home Alabama, Simple Man. Those songs are stamped with Ronnie's voice in the cultural memory. Johnny sings them well, but it's like watching a cover band with better credentials. The songs never quite escape Ronnie's ghost. Number 4. Brian Johnson in AC/DC. Wait, what? Brian Johnson ruined AC/DC? Hear me out. When Bon Scott died in February 1980 of alcohol poisoning, AC/DC faced an impossible choice. Do they continue or do they call it quits? Scott's mother urged them to keep going. The band remembered that Scott had once praised a singer from the British band Geordie, comparing him to Little Richard. That singer was Brian Johnson. Johnson auditioned with Whole Lotta Rosie and Nutbush City Limits. The band loved him immediately. He recorded Back in Black, which became the second best-selling album of all time. By every commercial measure, Johnson didn't ruin AC/DC, he saved them. But for many fans who grew up with Bon Scott, Johnson's arrival felt like a betrayal. Scott was AC/DC. His wit, his charisma, his rough-edged voice defined the band's identity. Highway to Hell, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, Let There Be Rock. Those albums captured a raw energy that felt irreplaceable. Johnson's voice is powerful, no question, but it's also harsher, more of a scream than Scott's bluesy croak. Scott delivered the sleazy lyrics with a wink. Johnson belts them with intensity. The band's sound got bigger, more arena-ready, more polished. That worked commercially, but something got lost. The debate still rages among fans. Bon or Brian? It's a religious argument. Younger fans who came up with Back in Black and For Those About to Rock will champion Johnson. Older fans who remember Scott as the voice of AC/DC feel differently. To them, the band peaked with Highway to Hell, and everything after was just different. Number 3, Steve Augeri in Journey. Journey is famous for their revolving door of lead singers, but no change divided fans quite like the loss of Steve Perry. Perry joined in 1977 and became the voice of the band through their most successful period. Don't Stop Believin', Faithfully Open Arms, those songs are Perry's DNA. Perry left in 1987 when the band went on hiatus. They reunited in 1991 for a benefit concert and released Trial by Fire in 1995. Then came Perry's hiking accident. He refused to undergo hip surgery, and by 1998, the band was done waiting. They replaced him with Steve Augeri. Augeri came from the band Tall Stories and had a voice eerily similar to Perry's. That was the point. Journey wanted someone who could sing Perry's songs without fans rioting. Augeri fronted the band for 9 years, recording 2 studio albums, Arrival in 2001 and Generations in 2005. Both sold modestly compared to the Perry era. The problem was obvious. Augeri sounded like Steve Perry, but he wasn't Steve Perry. Fans compared every note, every performance, every inflection. Augeri was caught in an impossible position. Hired specifically to sound like someone else, but judged harshly for not being the original. Journey's tour dates moved to smaller venues. The band's cultural relevance faded. In 2006, Augeri developed vocal issues and had to leave the tour. By 2007, he was out, replaced by Arnel Pineda, who faced similar comparisons. Journey continues with Pineda, who's been with them since 2007. They play arenas again, proof that the band can survive without Perry. But ask any Journey fan who the real lead singer is, and most will still say Steve Perry. The rest are just filling his shoes. Number 2, Lynn Turner in Deep Purple. Deep Purple's history is a mess of lineup changes, but this one stands out. Ian Gillan, the voice of Deep Purple during their most successful period, left in 1973. He returned in 1984 for the Perfect Strangers album, which was a commercial and critical hit. Then, in 1989, Gillan was dismissed again. The band brought in Lynn Turner, who had previously worked with guitarist Ritchie Blackmore in Rainbow. Turner recorded the 1990 album Slaves and Masters. The problem? It sounded like a mediocre Rainbow album, not a Deep Purple album. Critics and fans were harsh. This wasn't Deep Purple's prog rock majesty or even their commercial hard rock. It was bland, generic, and uninspired. Turner had a good voice, but he wasn't suited for Deep Purple's style. The album peaked at number 87 in the United States and number 45 in the UK, Deep Purple's worst chart performance in years. Turner's tenure lasted only one album and one tour. In 1992, Ian Gillan returned once again, and Turner was out. The Slaves and Masters era is now largely forgotten, a footnote in Deep Purple's complicated history. It's a reminder that even talented singers can be wrong for a band. Turner wasn't a bad vocalist, he just wasn't a Deep Purple vocalist. The chemistry wasn't there, the material suffered, and fans rejected the whole experiment. Number 1. Axl Rose in AC/DC. Yes, we're back to AC/DC, but this time it's different. In April 2016, during the Rock or Bust World Tour, AC/DC made a shocking announcement. Brian Johnson was departing due to hearing issues. If he continued performing, doctors warned, he risked total hearing loss. The band needed someone to finish the tour. They chose Guns N' Roses frontman Axl Rose. Let that sink in. Axl Rose, the mercurial, unpredictable voice of one of rock's most notorious bands, was going to front AC/DC for 10 shows in North America and 12 in Europe. Fans were stunned. Some were curious. Most were horrified. Axl Rose singing Brian Johnson songs? Axl Rose, who'd spent years showing up hours late to Guns N' Roses shows, was going to be the reliable choice to save AC/DC's tour? The performances themselves got mixed reviews. Rose could hit the notes mostly. He brought energy. But his voice is nothing like Johnson's or Scott's. His raspy howl didn't fit AC/DC's straightforward rock sound. The whole thing felt like a bizarre fever dream. Johnson's departure had been sudden and heartbreaking. He'd sung for AC/DC for 36 years. Hearing him replaced by Axl Rose felt like watching your favorite restaurant hire a celebrity chef who doesn't know how to cook the menu. Maybe Rose was talented, but he was the wrong talent. Rose performed the tour as a guest vocalist, not as a permanent replacement. Johnson eventually returned for the 2020 album Power Up, proving that Rose was just a stopgap. But for those months in 2016, AC/DC with Axl Rose was one of rock's strangest what-if scenarios made real. Fans who paid to see AC/DC got Axl Rose fronting the band from a special throne because he'd broken his foot. The throne itself became a meme. The performances were adequate but awkward, and the whole episode reminded everyone that some bands are so tightly linked to their singer that even a temporary replacement feels wrong. A C/DC survived, but those shows exist as a weird detour in the band's history. Nobody talks about the Axl Rose era of AC/DC with reverence. It's more of a punchline, a trivia answer, a moment when AC/DC tried something desperate and it went exactly as awkwardly as you'd expect. Sometimes a band can survive losing their lead singer. Sometimes they can't. These 10 vocalists walked into impossible situations trying to fill shoes that couldn't be filled. A few succeeded commercially, selling millions of records and packing arenas. Most didn't, watching, as the band's popularity declined and their own names became punchlines. But all of them learned the same hard lesson. You can replace a voice, but you can't replace a legend. The fans know the difference and they never forget the original. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more rock history.